Okay guys, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the negative battery terminal. And make sure you leave the negative battery terminal disconnected for at least 90 seconds before you begin working on any components of the airbag. Okay guys, the first thing we're going to do before we can remove the clock spring steering angle sensor assembly, we need to remove the airbag. So what we're going to do first is we're going to locate the left hand side and the right hand side of the steering wheel, and you should see some little openings there, okay, on both sides. Here it's right there. Okay, what you're gonna do is you're gonna use a pick tool or a very thin screwdriver. Make sure you don't damage none of the trim on the vehicle. You're going to basically just apply pressure so that those tabs can release on both sides, and then you're able to see the airbag screws or bolts. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this pick tool and just use it right in the edge here and just basically apply pressure to open this opening, as so. And then as you see, the cover just came right off. Just make sure you're able to locate it afterwards. Here's for the other side. Okay, as you can see, the T30s. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the left side. I just got a quarter ratchet with a T30. Okay, you're gonna just place it inside. Make sure it grabs, and then just loosen it. This is for the other side. Now that both of the T30 bolts have came loose on both sides, the airbag is going to just literally come out, but be sure to disconnect the airbag cables and the horn ground that's normally connected to the airbag. So don't pull it too hard. As you can see that the airbag harness, most of the time indicated in yellow harness or harness insulator, is connected to the airbag as well as the ground. The ground happened to already come out of the assembly here, but I'm going to loosen these two connectors and then we'll proceed. Okay, so to get to those connectors, I recommend you take the airbag as so and just flip it so that you can have a little bit of slack on the cables and you're able to see pretty clear the connectors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pick tool, and I'm going to pick at this area here and provide a little bit of pressure so I can release this tab here and disconnect this connector. Let me see if I can do it while recording. There we go. As you can see, it released. Now you should be able to take that connector out by just pulling it as so. So I have released this connector, and the other connectors is similar, which is pretty much identical. You're going to just apply pressure here. Here we go. And I have got both of these connectors undone or loosened. Okay. Now the assembly can just come out. Okay, just put it on the side. Now that we are inside, we need to disconnect all the connectors that are going to prevent us from removing the steering wheel. So I'm going to start with these up here. As you can see, these just has a tab on the top. Just press on the tab. Make sure you don't pull from the connector. Okay, don't pull from the cable, pull from the connector, so that you won't risk of pulling out one of the cables. So as you can see, these are loosened. Okay, so the whole steering wheel is going to come as a whole. So these steering wheel controls are going to come with the steering wheel. So you don't have to worry about anything of going into these. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the 19mm nut that holds the steering wheel to the steering column. I'm going to use a 19mm or so. Okay, I'm going to use a battery powered impact. So you could use anything equivalent, and I'm just going to nut. Okay, it's a 19mm. Make sure you put it somewhere. Okay guys, the next thing you're gonna do is, sometimes the steering wheel is a little bit difficult to remove. There's a series of splines here that align with the steering column, and sometimes it gets a little tight. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get the nut that you took off the steering wheel. You're gonna just put about 4 threads in, not all the way in. You want to have a little play because you want the steering wheel to be able to move, and it won't actually come out and hit you in your face. So just put it there, a couple of threads. Okay, so now that I've put that nut in there, a couple of threads, what I need to do now is I need to apply equal pressure to this side and this side with my hands. I can't really show you because I'm holding the camera, but you basically just grab the steering wheel with this hand on this side and grab the steering wheel with the other hand and just shake it. Just give it a little bit of tug. Okay, like you see, and like I said, there you go, it should come out. Okay, use both hands, and then once you get the steering wheel unloosened, then you can unfasten this nut again. Okay, and then the steering wheel will come out. Okay guys, now we have access to the clock spring and steering angle sensor, but first we got to take these covers off because we need to disconnect a couple of connectors in there before we can even access this, and also possibly a couple of screws. So take these Phillips screws out. Okay, make sure you put the steering wheel in a safe location, and now we're going to take these 2 screws out. After y'all get these Phillips screws off, you're going to just use a little pick tool and just separate these 2 plastic trims. Okay, and you don't necessarily have to take them out. All we have to do is just have enough space for us to disconnect these connectors and anything else that we might have to, so that we can remove these clock spring. Okay guys, upon visual inspection, I see that this vehicle doesn't even have a steering angle sensor, meaning that whoever assembled this before me, or whoever worked in this area, didn't put the steering angle sensor because it bolts onto the clock spring in the back. I can see the plug disconnected. Okay, so let's take this out, let's see what we have in our hands, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's start by removing these connectors, this black one and this yellow one. Those are connected to this assembly here. So let's start with this black one. Just push on the tab and pull on the connector like that, and this one as well. Okay guys, actually this yellow connector actually does not come out from this side. It does not have a push pin here. What you have to do is you have to go through it through the other side right here. Let me see if my camera can actually focus on that. And you're going to get a push pin and just push it from here, either with a flathead, with a pick tool. You're just going to, let me see if I can do it with in front of the camera here. Just push. There we go. And the connector should come right out. Just push on that pin there, and then the connector should come right out. The next step you got to do is, there's 3 different clips that mount this clock spring and steering angle sensor assembly. One is right here. You see this little tab that I can move, that one, and it's on the adjacent side as well. This tab right here that I can move down, and then another one right on the top here, I can also push it up. Oh, there you go. See, all I needed to do was just push that top one, and then with your other hand just push these 2 out, and then the assembly should come out. Let me go ahead and take it out so I can use both hands, and then I'll show you with it out. Okay guys, so this is the clock spring. Okay, one thing I noticed is that I see no angle sensor. Now you compare it to the part that I have here that I'm going to install. You see the angle sensor back there that mounts onto the clock spring. You see the plug, which is this plug here that was just left loose, which is why customers getting all these lights dealing with his stability system. Okay, so this is the clock spring that I'm going to install on the vehicle. This one actually has the steering angle sensor. Okay, I do not know why the other one did not. I assume it's because the person that worked prior to me did not install it. Why? Parts weren't there, they broke it, who knows, but we have it here. And now the clock spring, it's in its center position. Okay, make sure you don't put it in its incorrect position. In the end of the video, I'm going to show you a way on this clock spring that if you are not sure whether it's in its center position, I'm gonna let you know how you can make sure. Okay, but first we're gonna install this clock spring. Pretty much a straightforward. As you can see, remember those tabs that were on both sides, okay, as well as the top. You're basically just gonna snap it on. Just snap it on those 3 tabs, and the clock spring should really literally just snap in place. So let's go ahead and do that. And as simple as that, the clock spring is installed. Okay, it clipped on nice and flush to the steering column. Okay, we have the clock spring in its center position, indicated by this orange indicator here. I'll show you in the video how you can verify that your clock spring is in its center position. Now we're going to basically install everything. Okay, now I'm actually going to connect the plug that was left unplugged to the steering angle sensor and connect everything back in its place. Okay, I got my connectors in place, connected, got my steering angle sensor connected, got my clock spring in its center position. So now I'm going to get my trims, gonna connect them back together, put the 2 Phillips head screws. Okay, I got my trim nice and flush. Okay, make sure it meets and clips on to both joint compartments here, and tightened up the 2 Phillips head screws. Now we're ready to put the steering wheel back on the vehicle. Make sure you follow the cable in its appropriate position so that it can freely connect to the airbag. Okay, don't provide any restriction or any pulling or any pressure. It has to all flow through the steering wheel into the airbag plug. Got my steering wheel mounted on the steering column. Clock spring, it's in its center position, and the cables are being followed through here. Now I'm going to get my nut and I'm going to put it back. Okay, I'm gonna tighten it with my electric impact. Okay guys, I got everything connected. Connect your plugs for the airbag. Make sure that you sit them in its appropriate color and you pull down on these tabs to lock them in place. You screw back on your T30s on the side. Put the little covers. And yeah, guys, if you like this video, make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, and let me know if you have any ideas for future videos. Thank you. Okay guys, if you put your clock spring and you're not sure whether it's in the center position, this is a good way to find out whether it's centralized with the even amount of turns on both sides. So as you can see, you have this little orange indicator right here that lets you know whenever the clock spring is in the center position, as long as you count the correct number of turns. So as you can see, you have a 5 right there, which indicates that if this is the center position of the clock spring, you're gonna have 2.5 turns to the left and 2.5 turns to the right, which is gonna equal 5 turns. So if you ever find a situation where you're not sure if it's in the right position, just turn it all the way to one side, whether it's the left or the right, and then just count 2.5 turns, and then you should get it in the center position. Okay, so right now it's in its center position. So if I count 2.5 turns to the left, I should start feeling a little bit of restriction because that's where it ends. So let's see. 1, 2, 2.5. So as you can see, I'm already starting to feel a little bit of tension. So now I know that that's where it ends. Now if I count 2.5 back, I should be able to get it back in its center position. Let's see. 1, 2, 2.5. As you can see, the indicator, orange indicator, which indicates that it's in its central position. You can do this whether it's all the way to the right or all the way to the left. Just know that from left to right is 5 turns completely, and to centralize it is 2.5 turns, okay? So that's how you're able to find out if your clock spring it's in its center position. Here we go, guys. No more traction control light in the information center or in the actual light. Tire pressure still on. Got to see if one of the sensors is gone bad or ran out of battery, and also with the washer system. But yeah, guys, traction control is gone. So happy driving.